In the opening scene, Queen Gorgo recounts how King Darius led his Persian army into Greece for the Battle of Marathon in 490 BC during the first Persian invasion of Greece. The Athenian commander Themistocles faced them at the shore with his own forces. The Greeks savagely and effortlessly defeated the invading Persians one after another, clearing a path for Themistocles to target Darius, who was observing the slaughter of his troops from his ship offshore. Themistocles drew his bow, poised to perform the act that would make him a legend. He let the arrow fly just as Darius's son, Xerxes, arrived. Xerxes rushed to his father's side, but was too late to save him as the arrow struck. Holding his dying father, Xerxes locked eyes with Themistocles. As Themistocles walked away, Gorgo states that Themistocles knew in his heart that he made a mistake not to kill Xerxes when he had the chance, and this mistake haunt him forever. Darius is taken back to his kingdom to die in bed. Xerxes and Artemisia, Darius's fierce and beautiful naval officer, stay with him. She holds his hand. As he is dying, Darius tells Xerxes to leave the Greeks alone because only gods can beat them. Artemisia removes the arrow from his chest to end his suffering. Xerxes mourns his father's death for a week. On the 8th day, Artemisia embraces Xerxes and tells him that his father's last words were not a warning, but a challenge. She tells him that if only the gods can defeat the Greeks, then he must become the god king. Artemisia then sends Xerxes into the desert wearing chains. He walks into a cave with a pool of glowing gold liquid. Xerxes steps in, as Gorgo explains, a dark desire for power and revenge. He comes out with golden skin, fiery red eyes, no hair, and a foot taller. Meanwhile, Artemisia kills all the old allies of the man Xerxes once was. Xerxes returns to Persia and stands before the people, with Artemisia by his side. He shouts, "For glory's sake, war." The Persians cheer loudly. 10 years later, in 480 BC, Xerxes plans to lead his army through Thermopylae, while Artemisia prepares her navy at sea. The second Persian invasion of Greece begins. In Athens, Themistocles meets with the council to talk about his naval strategy against the invading Persians. The Athenians want to defeat the Persians but are reluctant to send their men to die in battle. Themistocles insists that they must fight for Greece's freedom and demands the best ships for battle. He also tells the council he will seek help from the Spartans. Themistocles goes to Sparta to ask King Leonidas and his soldiers for assistance. He arrives during a training session where multiple Spartans are fiercely attacking one man as he struggles to defend himself, leaving him bloodied. Themistocles meets Dilios, who informs him that Leonidas has already set out with his men and has dealt with the Persian envoy. Queen Gorgo then speaks with Themistocles, explaining that the Spartans do not hold the same ideals of freedom for the nation as he does. At the same time, a prisoner is brought before Artemisia on her ship. He mocks her guards for being Greeks serving a woman with Greek blood, who is loyal to an enemy nation. Artemisia grabs her sword and says she may be Greek, but her heart is Persian. She decapitates the man and throws his head overboard. She notices an unfamiliar soldier on the ship. The man then says, "Let me introduce myself," before killing several Persians. He is Cilias, an Athenian soldier sent to spy on the Persians. He jumps into the sea, avoiding the Persians' arrows. Cilias and his son Callisto report back to Themistocles and his lieutenant Icolos. Cilias informs them that Artemisia is leading the Persians at sea. It is believed she is the only survivor of an attack on her town. Through a flashback, we learn the painful background story Artemisia. When she was young, she sadly watched as her parents were killed by Greek. A soldier from the invading side walks to Artemisia and then cruelly kicked her in the face. For years, the soldiers mistreated her until they left her on the streets, thinking she was dead. Luckily, the Persian emissary found her and took care of her. She decided she would go back to Greece when she was ready to see it destroyed. The emissary trained her to fight, and she became skilled and dangerous. As an adult, she brought the heads of Darius's enemies to him, which made her his general. Despite knowing this, Themistocles still plans for battle. Icolos warns that their small navy against the much larger Persian navy outnumbers them, and thinks the mission is suicidal. "That's the plan," Themistocles replies. In the present, Themistocles, trusting his soldiers, guides them to the Aegean Sea, where Artemisia commands her navy. Her general, Artaphernes, informs her that General Bandari has readied his strategy to engage the Greeks, marking the start of the naval battle of Artemisium. Themistocles boosts the soldiers' spirits by urging them to stand together and fight alongside their comrades. The Athenians forcefully ram their ships into the Persian vessels, attacking with great determination and anger. This sparks yet another intense battle, resulting in numerous Persian casualties inflicted by the Athenians. Cilias and Callisto fight shoulder to shoulder, with Callisto throwing his spears at the Persians. Artemisia, unhappy with the outcome, orders Bandari to be chained and thrown into the sea, where he meets his end below the waves. The other generals believe she's upset about the loss of their men, but she reveals she's actually disappointed in them personally. She reflects on the idea of having someone loyal by her side. The following day, the Athenians maneuver the Persians into sailing their ships through a narrow passage, causing the first ship to get wedged and the others to collide into it. Athenians leap from the cliffs and join the fray, mercilessly attacking the Persians. Themistocles personally slays the second general, Cassius. Silius sees Callisto joining the battle, but he's clearly worried about his son's safety. Artemisia observes the chaos from her ship, impressed by Themistocles' strategy and leadership. Artaphernes sails a boat to the Athenian camp to escort Themistocles onto Artemisia's barge. He arrives there and, impressed by his skill in battle, Artemisia praises him and invites him to her private chambers. There, she asks if he fights for someone back in Athens. Themistocles replies that he hasn't had time for a family or children. Artemisia offers him a chance to join her, promising an escape from conflict and responsibility. Then, they engage in intense and audible intimacy, disturbing the guards. When Artemisia repeats her offer, Themistocles declines, angering her. She throws him off, reminding him he's just a man, not a god. Themistocles returns to camp, warning his men of Artemisia's fierce determination to defeat them. The next day of battle, Persian ships released her into the ocean while guards swim towards the Athenians carrying explosives. Athenians defend themselves until Artemisia shoots her arrows. Persians launch flaming arrows to ignite the tar. Artemisia's arrows hit Silius, witnessed by Callisto. A Persian on a ship hurls torches, setting himself on fire. Falling into the tar, he ignites an Athenian ship and his own, causing an explosion. Another Persian, with explosives, climbs onto Themistocles' ship. He orders evacuation and tries to attack the Persian, but the explosives detonate, sinking the ship with Themistocles. Artemisia watches triumphantly as her enemy goes down. In the ocean, Themistocles sinks amidst fallen comrades. He sees two serpent-like creatures devouring the bodies before one moves towards him. Themistocles is waken up from the dream by Callisto. He realizes this event may have been brought upon him to subdue his ego or to remind him of the mistake of not killing Xerxes. Themistocles approaches Silius, who is dying. He encourages his friend to persevere and imparts a final message before Silius succumbs. Themistocles grieves for his fallen comrade. Callisto inquires about Silius's last words, but Themistocles assures him he'll share them later. After this, a brief flashback shown from the previous film, where Xerxes and his forces triumph over Leonidas and the 300 Spartans after the grueling battle of Thermopylae. As the birds pick at the eyes of the dead Spartans, the Persians advance triumphantly towards Athens. Themistocles receives news of the defeat through a messenger and returns to Sparta. There, he confronts Ephialtes, the hunchback who betrayed the Spartans to Xerxes. Though Ephialtes appears remorseful, he doesn't flinch when Themistocles threatens him with a sword, acknowledging his lack of physical beauty and the ugliness of his betrayal. Ephialtes reveals that Xerxes is marching towards Athens to destroy it. Themistocles leaves him alive so that he may carry the message back to the Persians, saying that the Greeks will fight to the death. Themistocles goes to speak to Queen Gorgo. Dilios, now half-blind, warns him not to expect a warm welcome, as Gorgo is still mourning her husband. Themistocles urges her to support the ongoing battle, but she refuses to send because she does not want to see anyone dying in that battle. He hands her Leonidas' sword, saying it belongs with her. Gorgo tears up at the sight of it. The Persian army captures Athens. Xerxes stands triumphantly over the city, holding Leonidas' head aloft while his soldiers wreak havoc and set the city ablaze. He boasts about his victory and mocks Themistocles as a coward. Ephialtes returns to Xerxes and Artemisia to report that the Greeks are continuing their fight at sea, led once more by Themistocles. Upon hearing his name and realizing he's still alive, Artemisia vows to annihilate the Athenians. She departs to ready her forces for the final confrontation. Themistocles recognizes that his men are weary and may be reluctant to continue fighting, understanding their desire to avoid more bloodshed. He tells them they are free to leave if they wish to preserve their lives and freedom. However, he also urges them to stay and fight, declaring, "Let it be shown that we chose to die on our feet, rather than to live on our knees." The Athenians respond with a rousing cheer, their spirits lifted by his words. The limited number of Athenian ships confronts the vast Persian fleet in their final battle. As they prepare, Themistocles shares Silius's final words with Callisto, telling him that his father believed he was ready to fight and had earned his place. Themistocles and Artemisia both prepare to lead their forces into the climactic naval battle of Salamis. The ships collide, and the Athenians charge, fighting fiercely and mercilessly against the Persians. Refusing to remain on the sidelines, Artemisia takes up her two swords and enters the fray, slaying as many Greeks as she can on her own. Themistocles rides his horse through the chaotic battle, heading straight for Artemisia's ship. Confronting her, he recalls her earlier offer and firmly repeats his refusal. Enraged, Artemisia engages him in a duel. They clash fiercely, with Artemisia taunting, "You fight harder than you thwack." Their intense fight continues until they find themselves with swords at each other's throats. Themistocles remains steadfast in rejecting her offer and tells her it is time for her to surrender. After this, we see Queen Gorgo leading her Spartan army, narrating the story from the beginning and delivering a powerful speech as they advance to encircle the Persian fleet. Armies from other allied nations join the battle. Themistocles, holding Artemisia at sword point, points out the arriving allies. He urges her to surrender. Refusing, Artemisia attempts to strike, but Themistocles swiftly drives his sword into her stomach. She drops to her knees, watching the allied forces surround her navy. From a cliffside, Xerxes turns his back on her. Artemisia collapses and dies just as Gorgo and Dilios step onto her ship to stand beside Themistocles. The film concludes with Spartans and Athenians uniting to decisively defeat the Persians. This historic alliance culminates in the naval battle of Salamis, a turning point in ancient history. The Allied victory compels the Persians to retreat from Greece permanently, marking a significant triumph for the Greek forces. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more interesting movie recaps.